Hey everyone, how's everyone doing today? I'm Brian, and that over there is.
Leonard.
How's everyone doing? And welcome to the Up for a Grip show. And today on our podcast, we're actually welcoming my good friend Elliott Burns. How you doing, Elliott?
I'm good, Grips. How you?
Not too bad. And it's been a while too because we actually just to kind of fill everybody in on the story here. Me, Elliott, we all went to the same school together, and Elliott was actually a couple grades ahead of me too. So he graduated. What was it? 2009.
Yep.
And I guess what'd you do after graduating after from Hampton?
Just Robert Morris and then right to work.
Was that because you're mainly a comedian, right? And then you do like some other works outside of this?
Oh no. I have like a job. Like I don't make too much money from comedy at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll get to share your story a little bit here, but Ellie, just to kind of fill you in, the way this the podcast works, me and Lenny, we both take turns asking you questions. So our little script right here has a total of 10 questions altogether, but we'll see if we can pick up anything else along the way. But since I invited you on, I'll go first. So I guess let's elaborate more on that story a little bit. I guess you went to Robert Morris, and then what'd you do at Robert Morris, and then what'd you do after graduating there?
Just communications. I went in for something else, and then that seemed boring. And then RMU was like, "You can work on movies," and I thought that was sincere when they said that. So I went into their TV and film program, and like you couldn't get a job working in film and television unless it was for like below minimum wage almost. So then that just turned into doing other things. Comedy was kind of like you could still be creative uh for free basically because there was no form of like I don't know if you would call it like high end YouTube or like YouTube shows at that point. Like that was just in its infancy, but stand up was hitting really hard around that time where it was incredibly popular. So it was like a cool place to go out and do something with minimal effort.
That's pretty cool. And I guess did you hit up like some of the big comedy joints in Pittsburgh? I kind of wish I could have
Well,
remembered the one I was at, but
a girl in at Hampton signed me up at the Improv, and I did the open mic there. And I thought like that was the only open mic in town, so I did that for my whole summer, my senior year. And then afterwards, like I found out about like three other open mics, and I was in college, so it was real easy to get the time to go out and go down and keep doing open mics.
I see. And then I
Yeah.
guess where'd your career path take afterwards when you realized like I guess being a stand-up comedy is not really raking in the big bucks. So I guess where'd your career path go after that?
Just sales. I've been working in sales ever since.
Not the door-to-door sales because I did that a little bit and that was not fun at all. Were you more like the I don't want to say
Oh
cold
no,
caller,
all
but I
car
guess.
sales and then like software sales.
Oh, really? That's pretty
Yeah.
sweet. All right. So I guess Lenny, you want to jump in your question right now?
Yeah, I feel like my questions are pretty deeper. Like I don't want to go too deep just yet because we're just gonna know you right now. So, but let me look through here. So, well, before I get my questioning, I do robotics, so I'm used to the hardware software realm of things. So yeah, it's trying to sell yourself and that type of thing. It's tough. It's not easy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. But so let's say this, like since you got kind of got yourself in comedy and everything, like what type of comedy person do you want to be? What was like your goal setting on that?
Well, like I just heard that like some people don't write material at all. Um, like Leno, Chris Rock, they don't really like write down or come up with an idea or put it on paper. They kind of said that they like just think of a joke and then they go do it and then they do it again and they do it another time. But like it never really got to that because like a show in Pittsburgh isn't really to an audience that like knows you. So basically it just got to become more of like a free form of comedy of like what did I do that day and try to stretch that into 10 to 20 minutes. I've done an hour at one point of like nothing written, but it basically became more like a game than anything to just go up and try to be entertaining in a story form um, of stand up.
Okay. Like what kind of stand up did you like do? Like what kind of like stories or topics?
Just whatever happened during the day. Like I had 20 minutes on ordering soup off of Amazon. Like you can go on Amazon and buy, like the ramen flavoring.
Yeah.
Like I like ramen soup, but like it's never strong enough. So I like for like a week was trying to find individual ramen packets, thinking like I just want one more packet. And then Amazon was like, well, shit, you can buy just a giant bag of it. And I bought it, but I didn't understand like Korean. So I didn't buy like normal seasoning. I bought like the ultra hot seasoning that's like 1 teaspoon for a gallon of soup. And I just like fill the bowl with the powder. And then like I was getting crazy headaches after eating the soup. And then I realized like I was just making salt water and microwaving it and giving me headaches.
Wow.
Like I just went off on that for like 10 minutes and it worked.
I guess so, yeah. And
Yeah.
because it's really strange like these days, because we figure like the Hollywood sort of comedy that you see like in the big screens and everything too, to me it like really seems like it's lost its edge in a way. That's why I think like doing like stand-up or any of that stuff you see on Comedy Central, for instance. But what were you gonna say?
There's too much of it. That's the problem.
Well, then it's more like it's trying to be funny, but then like I forget. I thought it was like a Day in the South or something like that. I forget what it was, but it was like it was a real back sort of movie, but it was one of those 1-star ones. But I guess this kind of leads into it too. But do you think because of like what's going on in Hollywood and like how some of these movies are not really make an audience laugh head over heels or anything, do you think comedy's kind of losing its edge these days?
Well, it's just there's like so much of it that anybody can really like go out and do. Like I've got friends that have specials, like in quotation marks, and like every special is self-produced. Like very rarely does Netflix go out and produce a special. Typically what happens is like somebody goes out and they work on their hour, and then they hire a camera crew and they hire a producer and they hire a sound guy. They book a venue and they sell tickets to it, but a lot of the times they're not like wildly known. So they're actually typically, when they want to book a huge room, giving those tickets away in order to film that special. And then they go sell that special to Netflix. And typically like, a television show that Netflix might pick up, you have to have a cast of people with a whole crew. Somebody has to come in and do costume design, makeup, wardrobe, multiple day shoots. A stand-up special you can film in 2 days for like 10 grand. So a comedian gets together 10 grand from their shows, like their VFW shows, their bar shows, stuff like that, opening for somebody bigger, and then they shoot their own special and they go sell it. So now it's like Hollywood's getting basically in like a malaise of like, here's one special after another, after another, after another, after another. Where like 20 years ago, Comedy Central was like a real powerhouse. So it was like selective of what actually made it onto the air and what got into your ears. And it wasn't always great, but it was at least like there was some discretion as to like what quality content actually made it into an hour that you heard. Because I remember growing up hearing sets from comedians where I was just like, this is their fucking job. Like, there's no way that they're making money from that material. Like, it's not funny. How's it going on for an hour and they're getting paid? And you don't hear about those people anymore. Seinfeld literally did a movie with a guy, and I can't remember his name, where it was about him becoming like a famous stand-up. He had an apartment in Manhattan with like an exposed brick wall from doing stand-up back then. And like, you don't hear about that guy. And now that still exists where there's comedians whose job it is to be a stand-up. But like, you don't know who they are at all.
Yeah. That kind of goes with the next question I have here. This is kind of goes perfect. Well, let's say this. I'm just thinking of this now, so deal with me how I'm saying this. For example, on SNL. SNL was a big thing, especially like with Adam Sandler, Chris Farley, all those guys, the main voice actor from Emperor's New Groove from Disney. Like, I'm forgetting his name right now, but I'm talking about the guy.
Patrick Warburton.
Yeah, the guy played on Tom.
Oh, David Spade. No, he's the Emperor.
David Spade.
John
Gilbert
Godfrey. John Goodman's also like an improv guy, I think.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, those guys literally like made the comedy that we kind of known and grew up with, if not carried on to our
Now
time.
it doesn't come out of SNL at all. There's not like in the past 10 years, there hasn't really been like a monumentous SNL cast alum.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
Andy Samberg's like the last one, and Bill Hader that I can really name.
Yeah, from the Lonely Island Boys or something. The guys that sang that music, or calling music, I should say. But it's kind of like this. Like SNL became like really too political, like political joking that kind of like lost viewership, like over the years now. So it's like people still watch it, but even people that might be either right or left, whatever, people still watch it just to get a laugh out of it. You know what I mean? But do you think that comedy has become offensive to people because of the political movement these days?
No, I think really what moved SNL towards that is, like I just mentioned about like the competition. SNL used to be the kingmaker, where like if you made it onto SNL, you literally became a movie star. Not movie star, because there's a lot of alumni from like the 70s to 80s and 90s that nobody knows today. Like they've completely disappeared. And then there were the people like Bill Murray that you remember indefinitely. Tina Fey. They all came out of I.O. and Second City. The Groundlings had some. Will Ferrell came out of L.A., like not Chicago. And those comedy schools, they are like legitimate comedy schools. There are lessons to be learned and improv rules to be obeyed. And it's like they got to the point where they became almost a factory as opposed to like a true creative space. So the real meaning of SNL, Saturday Night Live, was what would happen at one of those comedy schools was like Monday night, you would go up and you would do freeform improv. That give me a prompt from the audience, like city bus. And then two people have to get up on stage and they have to create a scene. And their starting point is that they're on a city bus. Well, the people that go through that now, like it costs money. You have to live in Chicago. You have to have wealthy parents to do that. It kind of erodes like finding like I guess you would call it like a creative spirit, and they become more factory mechanisms. So it becomes like too formulaic to actually be good, and they just have to put on TV like the most middle ground skit that you could possibly imagine. And then whenever it comes time for politics, they go heavy on politics because it sells commercial space, because they get eyeballs to watch that one skit. Like, if you look at SNL outside of a political skit where it's become like a mechanism because they're competing against kids on YouTube, it's where they're making their money.
Right.
So they have to pander to that because that's how they make ad dollars.
Yeah, it's a viewership. And I've kind of like, maybe this is just me, but I feel like with any joke, even if it's on SNL or even just Comedy Central, like there's a half-hidden truth to the joke.
Yeah. Kind of, but a lot of it still, I always think like there's a half truth to it, but it always goes back to every single joke is basically like one way of saying something in a different way that you would say it straightforward.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see why too, because you think about the comedy shows like just Family Guy and South Park, for instance. So Family Guy's the laugh out sort of funny, like it's blatantly meant to be funny, but it still gets you crack a smile here every now and again, even though some of the jokes may be a little bit dark here and there, as you think like, how the hell did this end up on TV or something like that? Whereas South Park, there's really that sort of hidden message beneath it, but still makes it funny in a specific way. So I guess which one do you think does it better? You think just coming straight out and being like the stupidity kind of funny, or just like having a satire sort of storytelling to it?
I think South Park does it better only in that they didn't have to rotate through their staff writers as severely as like Family Guy did. Because like South Park's really Trey Parker and Matt Stone, and they do have writers in the room, but they're really driving the story for what they want to create. Whereas Family Guy, in order to maintain like a season, like individuals are assigned episodes in the season and they sort of create it, and it comes to the staff writer room and they work on it together. And those are all like improvisers. That's not stand-up comedy. That's all improv. and that's formulaic as well. But you kind of run into this problem where the writers get really good, and then they want more money, and the network's not willing to provide it because it doesn't draw the audience and the ad spend that it used to. So where like The Simpsons had like a golden run for a long time where it was just killer episode after killer episode for over 2 decades, you see it there too. Like their writers aren't as good anymore and their show's not as entertaining. But South Park, because the genius behind the show is still there. And I know Seth MacFarlane is the genius behind Family Guy. And there's a few like key writers. They all take on passion projects. Like one of the founders of Family Guy went on to do the Cleveland Show. Another key writer went on to do American Dad. So you sort of pull apart. Like even The Simpsons lost it. One of their writers goes over to create Futurama, and Futurama's killer. And it's just like they don't really have to maintain the essence of what the show is so long as they can sign like a multi-year deal. But South Park doesn't really have to worry about that because the two people that really make South Park just want to make South Park.
I would say, yeah, that is interesting too, and it's funny when you bring it up because it seemed like nowadays I saw like a couple of Family Guy episodes, and I'm sorry to interrupt, Lenny, but you can start talking afterwards. But
really fun.
But I did notice like Family Guy, when I was watching a couple of episodes, it was like they're just now strictly trying to be funny, but it's not like not funny anymore. And I know it's kind of stuff we reflect on right there, so. There's that too.
If you want to see like a real split in the mortar for that, watch like Rick and Morty. You'll see cracks start to form in like season 4, and by season 5 the show's all gone. It's nothing like what the first 3 seasons were, and when you actually read it, like a majority of the heavy hitter writers branched off into their own shows and got their own other deals, and they had a 5-year renewal from the network with an agreement that they wouldn't do anything outrageous on the show. So they play it safe, and it just converts like something that's trying something new into a formulaic episode, like you said, where they're just trying to be funny.
I would say I've not seen Rick and Morty yet, but I see it pop up on my YouTube channel every now and again, just like recommendation videos. So I think I'll have to check it out at some point. But
it's pretty funny. It's good.
They said it starts to fall apart in season 4 to season 5 there.
Yeah, but it's so hard. Like I can't really think of a comedy show that's like knockout punches from day 1 to the last.
I keep thinking back to the commercial. I don't know if it was a Super Bowl commercial. They were actually in it, and I think it was a Doritos commercial, I think, or something like that. And I think I want to say it was Rick, or Rick kind of says like, "Oh man, the guy is trapped in this sort of dimension," for instance, or something about like the elite, kind of making fun of like the elitists or something like that, trapped in like this little dimension here in their so-called commercial. So it was still a bit funny. You might know what I'm talking about, but I guess sorry, but I just wanted to kind of mention that right there. So go ahead, Lenny.
Honest to God, I haven't watched like a down of football since high school. Because I didn't get on the field. I've seen enough.
I would say, yeah. And I actually really felt bad for you in that year, too. And that was your senior year, so.
I was 5'5", 113.
And you were playing corner, right? You were.
Yeah, I was a corner in name.
I guess who started over you? Because I thought Mike Palladini was on one side, but.
Yeah, it didn't matter. It was going to be anybody. Because remember, Keith was always hurt.
Oh, yeah. Ryan O'Keefe, yeah. And then, I thought Zach Smith was the safety. I thought that was him, and then
I can't remember his defensive position. I know he did not like football.
I mean, he still made it work. So
he was incredible at it. He just fucking hated getting hit and lifting.
I don't know, but it was good to see all those guys doing well too. Yeah. But sorry to go off the edge of that, Lenny. Go ahead.
No, I love football. I mean, geez, if I were to go back, I'd probably do wide receiver, tight end position. I mean, I remember Coach Burke. I'm forgetting his name now. Berkeley or I don't know. Brinkley, yeah. He was a track and field guy, but also I think he did coaching of football at the time or involved with that. He wanted me to play wide receiver.
Wide receiver and JV coach.
I thought it was more for middle school. I thought that was where he was at.
He did middle school the year after I left middle. No, he was middle school while I was middle school. And then he came up to varsity for the wide receiver coach.
Yeah.
And then he coached JV. Remember, it was him and Haddix Maddox, and they would show up. They forgot the tee the one game, so they were like, just walk out on the field and put the ball on the ground and just kick it from the ground like a soccer ball.
I don't remember that. I think that might have been because I think when I came in, I think that was when Michalik. I think was that how you pronounce the head coach's name? Michalik, yeah.
Yeah.
I think he had just got fired because when I was a sophomore, that's when they brought in DiMatteo as head coach.
Yeah.
I do remember Coach Gooden as our defense coach. He's still alive and kicking. So
yeah.
So that was all good.
And DiMatteo.
Yep. Actually, DiMatteo had retired, believe it or not, because his son.
I heard that.
It was not last year, but the year before that, because his son was a senior and he had graduated, so and he just wanted to go watch his son play. Maybe at Clarion, I'm not too sure. I don't know where his son went afterwards, but all the best going forward and happy retirement. But Gooden's still there, and I don't know if you remember Sholo. Yeah, I think you had graduated when Sholo was.
I was gone by when Shula got there.
Sholo he's a cool dude. I think we'll have to get him on here one of these days so he can talk about his little NFL career and being coaches, but that's for another time. So
that's cool, yeah. No, we got to do that. That's a good idea, Brian. Yeah, longest yard, Adam Sandler, so this reminds me of it, so that's a comedy right there. So
yeah.
We went to longest yard sort of tangents right there. So
right? But kind of going back to the Simpsons thing, just to get back on track here, that it's really weird that the comedy that they had before. Now I don't know how accurate it is, but there's always this conspiracy theories. Okay.
Yeah. And
the thing is, the Simpsons seemed like they, with their comedy script, seemed like it was before, like for example, let's say, Trump getting in office or something like that. They were making a joke about him running for president, and then all of a sudden he runs for president actually. So it's like, there's a couple instances where they said about things and it actually happened for the future. Like, it's like their comedy scripters are really very good at making jokes, but they come alive. Like, have you heard of that before?
Well, the scariest one was, you seen the one where Homer, they make Barney the designated driver, and then Barney doesn't drink all night, and he sends in 10,000 Duff points. So Duff Man comes and brings 1,000, an endless jug of Duff. And Barney can't drink because he's the DD. So he's driving them all home and they're drunk. And then Homer goes, remember to bring my car back in the morning because Barney's driving it. Yeah. And then he just disappears with the car. And he gets a letter in the mail. Dear Mr. Simpson, your car is booted between the Twin Towers. And they need to get to New York City. And Lisa goes, plus with the new bus fare, we can get there for just $9. And she holds up like a pamphlet. And it says $9 right next to the Twin Towers, making 2 1s. So it says 9/11. And that's in like 1999.
See, that scares me. Because the reason why is because it goes back to the Dominique question. You know what I mean? Like, how we had Dominique juggling on our second episode here. Did you see that one? It doesn't matter if you have seen it, but have you heard about it? Like he was on our show. Okay, well, anyway, he's an actor, or he's in this early stages of his acting career. And long story short, he basically, I asked him, do you think that people literally sell their souls to the devil? To do their acting and stuff and everything. And I'm a person that does believe in that stuff. Like, I really believe that some of these people that are involved with elite stuff and people that are involved with acting that literally sell their souls just to get rich, famous, or even just to be rich and famous doing these skits and everything. I don't know, man. I believe that really actually 1% happens. So there's
but it can happen like so much easier than you think. Like, I have a buddy, Vinny, and he worked construction and did stand-up. And like, he had, I forget what kind of brain cancer, but they removed the tumor from his head. And, he wasn't rich by any means. He just beat cancer. And he was like, fuck it, I almost died. He was like 27 years old. I might as well go do like whatever the fuck I want. And when I say I never saw Vinny kill it, like absolutely level a room, like have people like having trouble breathing from laughing. I never saw that. He moves out to LA. He starts doing open mics. He works his way up to a show at the Laugh Factory. Fucking Dane Cook sees him, and Dane Cook puts him as his opener, like his official opener. And then he starts doing his own headlining out there. And like, you know, he's not in a movie or anything, but like his whole life's stand up. Like you might see him with Burt Kreischer sometimes. Like he's literally like at that level now. And it's just like he just decided to go and move. So like people, like I don't know if it's so much they sell their soul to the devil as they live in LA instead of Pittsburgh. Because there's no casting agents around here.
Yeah, there's like LA and there's also Atlanta, Georgia. It's like one of those two big places right now.
Yeah. Would you know that 70s show?
Yeah.
So there's you know Jamestown, New York, like the stand-up comedy Hall of Fame?
Kind of, but go ahead.
There were these customers that like came in from Jamestown to buy like a used car off of me. And they have the brand dealership like between them and me. And I was like, why'd you drive past Erie to come buy the car down here? And they were like, they don't have it. And the guy was driving a Volkswagen Alltrack. And I was like, I like that car because like I wanted to get one. It'd be sweet to fit my sound system in there. Oh, what kind of sound system do you have? I was like, two QSC K10 or K2s. They're 10 inches. They're like mid-range, so they're not low, they're not high, but they're loud and their dispersion's like real good. And we're talking, he's like, yeah, I'm in a band, I really like it. He's like, why do you have them? Because I didn't mention music. I was like, I'm a stand-up comic. And he's like, my buddy created that 70s show. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? That show's in Wisconsin. And he goes, yeah, he was a young guy out in LA writing for a TV show. Like he got a gig for like no money a year, and he had this idea for a high school TV show, and the people who like created Wayne's World were like, we want to make a TV show, and they really liked the script, but they wanted to move it to the town that they were from. So like Stevens Point, Wisconsin's actually supposed to be Jamestown, New York. That's where the show was originally created. So like me in Pittsburgh, until they had a hole in their door and they got mad at me, they were going to introduce me to that guy.
Oh, man.
So it's like you can make a connection like that quick. Like even now, there's a guy that I work with, his daughter, her best friend, she's an agent in New York City, and she's coming back. And he told me have a script ready. He'll have her read it.
Huh.
So you never know where it's going to happen.
Yeah, I got to know your connections. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, what's his name? Oh God, I can't even think of it now. Han Solo.
Oh, Harrison Ford.
Harrison Ford was a fucking carpenter at George Lucas's house.
They just happened to run into each other like right then and there.
Yeah, well, he was doing work on George Lucas's house. Yeah, and then he got into American Graffiti, and that led to every other thing he's ever done. I don't know if it's like selling your soul to the devil so much as this is like it's not as important as people actually think it is, and a lot of people could truly do that job. But it is worth millions of dollars for what the movie brings in. And you do go see a movie, you do go see Air Force One for Harrison Ford, not for the plot of Air Force One.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like what you'd probably say, same with Top Gun, you go see Tom Cruise in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I forgot to see that in theaters. That would have been awesome.
You know, I haven't seen it yet, too, but I think my mom said this is like the sequel to the original one that came out 20 or 30 some years ago, too. So.
And he looks the same age.
He does. He keeps it. He keeps it up. I'll give him that. Even though I think he's. I think they said he's tough to work with, so that's a little bit interesting.
I heard he's really nice, but he is like on movie sets they have an A and a B team because they're trying to shoot the movie and be done. And apparently he's like insane for efficiency. Where he's like, A team's going, B team's going. But then he buys everybody like a coffee cart.
That was interesting. I don't know. They seemed to paint him a little differently. It was more like he was just tough to work with. I don't know if it's kind of the same thing with Russell Crowe too, or some of those other actors who maybe are a little bit tough to work with, or you just want them to like stick to the schedule and then just get it done, that sort of thing. So
yeah,
I'm not sure. But I guess jumping into this next question, given the little experience you had, like being a stand-up comedian, I guess is there any sort of advice you'd probably want to give to anybody who wants to give it a try?
Just go try it. You'd be amazed how much like not good comedy there is out there. So if you think you're not going to be any good, don't let it be a deterrent. You can go out and suck for years. I've seen it. It doesn't slow some people down. It shouldn't slow anybody else down.
I see. And I guess
Yeah, there's stuff that's on Netflix that I'm like, this is pure trash.
yeah, I know. I think that's why the shares have practically plummeted too. So
Yeah.
maybe that or some other things too. I guess they now starting to charge you if you make these extra accounts to.
Yeah, I saw that.
If you have like extra accounts, Lenny, or if like some other members of your family want to access Netflix on your account, if they now charge you for that or something, or
I actually don't have Netflix.
you know, I still have it, but I haven't really done it in a while. In fact, I've used HBO Max a couple of times to go check out Primal on there.
They filmed a couple movies here, like there's Pale Blue Eye. They filmed that at Heartwood Acres.
Well, what's that auto movie with? Was it Bill Murray or Tom Hanks? Sorry, it was Tom Hanks.
Oh yeah, that was here too. Yeah, right over in Chandler. Well, they filmed his it's not called Mr. Rogers. I can't remember what it's called. Remember he was Mr. Rogers?
Yeah.
Well, something.
They filmed that in Shaler too.
Was it Chandler? Oh wow.
Right over by Birchfield Pizzeria.
Oh man, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I think it's named Neighborhood or something. Or I forget. That's a good question. I'm blanking out right now on it.
I just want to call it the Mr. Rogers Neighborhood, but it's like how the Facebook movie's not called the Facebook movie.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah,
so.
it's like Social Network. It's called. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I like that movie, by the way.
I thought it was a good movie. Aaron Sorkin wrote that movie in a day.
Just came to him one night and it was like, it would be like, it came to him in a dream, that sort of thing.
He started it and wrote all the way through and finished it.
And then it took it to publish afterwards and then see like editing or anything like that, or they just like, this is actually pretty good.
Well, I'm basing all this off of an IMDb trivia.
Which might be, give or take, this stuff here and there. So maybe he wrote it all in a day, but then if they wanted to edit anything out, maybe it took a couple of days here and there. So who knows? But I guess, Lenny, what other questions did you have?
Yeah, so I guess you could say, let's say this. It seems like from how I've seen it throughout the years, like my grandfather like loved the Three Stooges. You know, their comedy, how they used to just beat up one another. Even the cartoons, you kind of seen the same way. It seems like when someone gets hit or dropped or does something goofy, everybody's like, oh man, like that's a knee slapper right there, you know? Now, like these days, it seems maybe like that, but it's a little bit different type of comedy way. You know, it's like dry humor or, you know, maybe has a little bit like that extroverted humor. So I guess, is comedy different now than it was back then? No,
because like you watch Sunny in Philadelphia at all?
Yeah, actually, that's the thing. I don't have that data. No, I don't really watch it. So
there's like one of the more recent episodes. Charlie and Mac, they buy BMX bikes, and they start getting harassed by a gang of like 13-year-old boys, and they're like 40 years old, and they're getting picked on by these boys. And, like, the whole episode is, like, you know, how do we stop getting picked on? And then the end, like, the climax is like, wait, we're two 40-year-old men, and they just go beat the shit out of the 13-year-olds. And it literally, the scene opens, Mac punches, like, a 13-year-old in the face, and you see, like, blood come out of his mouth. And then they just do, like, WWF moves to these kids, and it's hilarious as shit. And it's slapstick. So it's like, just like the Three Stooges, I remember one, they sawed Moe's head in half. Like, they sawed into it, and then they were talking about how to get it out, and he just kept saying, just move it the opposite way. And the joke is, whatever way you move a saw, it saws. And it's like, that is violent as shit, and so is this, but that's what makes it funny, is it couldn't happen in real life and be a calm situation, and that's why it's funny.
Well, the Step Brothers, I mean, they had that too.
Yeah.
Like, they were just walking across, and there's like these little kids like being like they're ready to beat them up, and they literally got beaten up. And I think Will Ferrell, that's another guy. That's another guy that was on SNL too, that made SNL as well. But like he had, I think it was him. Like he literally had to lick the dog crap.
White dog shit.
Yeah. Like it, that stuff. Like it's one of those things. Like I
well,
remember
there hasn't been like a good comedy movie like that. And it was super bad. The Hangover, that was like the end of an era.
Other Guys.
Other Guys was really good.
There's
but
like
that's still in that same era. Like, Don't Look Up was good. Like, it was okay. but like I didn't piss my pants at any point laughing at it. But like in The Hangover, whenever he yells like there are Skittles in there and they punch him in the stomach, like that was like you actually were laughing, like you could hear it in the whole theater. Super bad. Whenever like he's dancing on that girl and she has her period, and he's like, I don't know, man, she used me like a fucking tampon. And the guy from The War at Home, Uncle Jesse, he goes like this to his leg because it's his girlfriend, and he's like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. And then they knock out the one guy who's like, Tiger got out of the cage, bro. Tiger got out of the cage. I'm sorry. You see that guy everywhere. He's in Andy Samberg's show and Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And it's like the whole movie, you're laughing really loud. And like they haven't captured that in a good movie in a long time. This Is the End is probably as close as it's gotten.
I do remember seeing Don't Look Up. I don't know if I would really say it's a comedy skit or any sort of satire or anything like that, because it's kind of building off people's ignorance.
That's Adam McKay, Step Brothers, the guy who wrote Step Brothers.
Yep.
That's his movie.
Oh, really? Was it?
Yeah, he also did because he's a Philadelphia guy. He's from PA.
Oh, really? That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, he's an improviser. But his dad was like a day trader on Wall Street. So he wrote oh my God, I can't think of it. The Big Short with Christian Bale and well, everybody. Brad Pitt's even in it. And it's like, that's a comedy too.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like comedy writers, I think they want to be thought more for who they are and like always seen as smarter than just making a joke. But it's hard as shit to make a joke.
Yeah. I mean, geez, like even, this sounds kind of like a silly analyzation, but even go on a date with a girl, you're trying to make a joke, but it just doesn't sound right, or it doesn't come out right. It's kind of like the same thing like that, in its weird way.
Because you don't know like what she's really into, so
yeah,
you try to like dig it down, and maybe you try to make a joke here and there, or maybe make a reference to Christopher Walken or Gilbert Gottfried, who you could also say helped out SNL too, depending on how you look at it too. But
yeah, because he did the Continental where he was the creepy guy, where the it was just gloves, and he would talk to a pair of gloves in the camera like it was a point of view, and he was like a creepy old guy. Or he was the sea captain that wrecked the cruise ship, and they're mad at him because he keeps going to the bathroom into the raft and not into the ocean.
Yeah, just doing stupid shit, really. That seems to do it. I was laugh too when you mentioned the Three Stooges too, because the one that really made me laugh the most was, and this was actually way back in 1940, it was "You Nazi Spy," that sort of thing. And unfortunately, it really kind of rings true with politics as well. So I always loved the phrase "Moronikov for morons," that sort of thing. I mean, it's
wait, in 40?
That was 1940.
I'm thinking a lot.
I'm dead serious. It said 1940.
That really sounds like a Mel Brooks joke from like the 60s.
They might have picked up on it, but I'm dead serious. You can go check it out. "You Nazi Spy." They spell it a little different. It's like Natzzy. So
yeah.
So, but like Mo's meant to be poking fun at Hitler. I think Curly is Mussolini. I don't really know what Mo, Curly, and Larry. Sorry, I was drawing a blank. I'm sorry. I'm drawing blanks on people's names.
Well, they had Shep in there at one point too because of the stroke.
Well, that was Curly had the stroke, but he was deteriorating a good bit, and then he had passed away, and then they brought in Shemp.
Yeah.
My dad said when they did Shemp, it seemed like Mo abused him a lot more. So.
Yeah, but you had to, because at that point it was like their shtick had been going on for so long. You always have to up the ante. Like, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It's the first episode was Charlie's like broke, so he pretends to have cancer so that people give him money. And it's like, that's pretty dark humor. But then you cut to like season 6, and it's way darker in season 6. Like just this episode where Frank sleeps with his niece, Gail the snail, and they keep throwing salt on her because like, you have to salt her. And it's a famous actress that plays the bit, but it's like the series from like season 1 to season 6 has to get that dark to kind of like maintain an edge.
Mm.
That's big too, I guess. Do you think dark humor, I guess they also call it like black comedy, do you think those are perhaps the most funnier ones when you get like kind of the dark humor you got out of like Pulp Fiction, for instance?
Yeah, like Pulp Fiction, but like even well, shit, you remember The Producers with Mel Brooks?
I don't remember off by name, but I guess go ahead.
Um, Leopold and Bloom, two producers on Broadway, they figure out like one of them's a straight-laced accountant that wants to go be a Broadway producer, Leopold Bloom, and Stotch is like a scumbag, but he finances all of his plays from little old ladies, and he hires Leopold to be his accountant, and his play loses a shit ton of money, but the guy accidentally, Stotch sold way more shares of the play than there actually were, and Leopold's like, holy shit, you lost all the money for the investors, but you have $10,000 left over. And he goes, so what? He goes, so what? The right play as a failure could actually earn you profits. So they sell millions and millions and millions in shares of stock for a Broadway play, and they have to make sure that the play is a complete success. So in the 60s, they find a play that's a fucking musical about Adolf Hitler, but like an adoring one, like it loves Hitler. And then they get a gay guy to direct it, and they hire a hippie to play Hitler. And it's so bad, people think it's a comedy. And it turns out to be a smash fucking hit. And so they go to jail because they oversold the play. So they tried to make a failure, but they made a success. And it's got singing Nazis. One of the lines of the song is, come on, be a smarty, come and join the Nazi party.
Oh, God.
And it's
what was this one?
That was like
what was this again?
The Producers. It's amazing.
That's what it's called. I was gonna say I never heard of that.
It's Mel Brooks. Mel Brooks. He was a U.S. Army veteran Jewish guy, and he wrote a movie about a Nazi musical. And everybody's like, "You're crazy! It'll never get made." But he knew it was funny.
You know, I keep thinking of the Charlie Chaplin one, The Great Dictator.
Dictator. Yeah, I like that. I memorized that speech.
You know what? I keep thinking of that one too, and that's the one that keeps popping in my head too. And I feel bad I don't recognize the Mel Brooks one, so that's definitely interesting. So, but I guess listing all these names right here, would you say all these guys have been your influence when you kind of look to trying to be a comedian?
Yeah, like I just grew up watching TV, like even SpongeBob, Steven Hillenbrand, like that show was fucking killer when we were younger, and like that was fucking funny for adults, let alone kids. And like that sort of surrealism kind of like pervaded its way into like comedy today. Like that's what Rick and Morty is. Rick and Morty's just like grown up Adventure Time or SpongeBob.
Who you calling Pinhead?
All right, Pinhead. This is town ain't big enough for the both of us.
I remember seeing that.
Yeah.
Who you calling Pinhead?
I bust out laughing so hard.
He just has a stupid look on his face.
Who you calling Pinhead with his bucktooth teeth? Yeah. Oh my god.
You know, I've actually got back into watching like clips of Ed, Ed and Eddie. I don't know. Did you guys watch that?
I loved Ed and Eddie. Yeah.
It was not bad, yeah.
With the jawbreakers.
Yeah, it was like the big ball on the side of the mouth.
Yeah.
It's like
Jimmy not funny.
Well,
Johnny
the wood boy, or the Rolf the shepherd, and Kevin the dork. And you know, I never really agreed with Kevin, but when I was seeing clips of like an Ed is Born where he's trying to show like how grown up he is to his big brother.
Mm-hmm.
There's one. Kevin gives him a wedgie and puts his underwear on the back of the bike and just starts driving away. And he's just trying to act natural at first, but he just gets pulled away. Next thing you know, you hear him like screeching. He's like, "Slow down, Kevin! I was just getting stopped, please." And his underwear snaps and he starts bouncing all over the place. There was a lot of funny stuff, but normally I don't agree with anything that Kevin did in the show, but that was at least one of the funny moments right there. So, but
I remember Jimmy.
But it's funny though too, and I'm sorry to interrupt, Billy, but you notice that too, like some characters, but it seems like there's obvious characters that you're supposed to like and then ones you don't like are supposed to hate, but then like you end up turning around like laughing at
Squidward effect.
I'm sorry, what?
The Squidward effect.
I guess yeah, you could call it that, because actually it's funny with SpongeBob, because people are saying like people emphasized with SpongeBob when they were little because that was what he was reflecting. Then as you get older, you start to feel more like Squidward because you're working, you got get a job, you're probably not happy 9 times out of the day, give and take, or what's going on right there. So it's kind of funny how it works out in the end. But all right, but go ahead, Lenny. What did you have another one you wanted to throw out to Elliott here?
No, that one was not a big deal. I guess you can say I'm almost running out of questions here, but my last two are this: is that how do you want the change? Let's say this, even though you are kind of in the comedy world right now, but I think you're full-time sales. Is that correct? If I'm following right? Yeah. Well, if you were let's say if you were doing full-time comedy, or if you were given the chance again, what would you want to change the world with your comedy skills?
I don't think I want to change anything. I just want to make a TV show. Who was I watching? They have a ranch out in Montana. They're not even a farmer. They just have a house out there, and they wake up and they talk about I come out here and I have my coffee in the morning. And then they talk about then maybe I'll go down and I'll check on the horses, and then I'll go into town to pick up something for the day, food for dinner or something to cook up. And then they come home and they just hang out at home. They don't even have a schedule. And then they just eat dinner at home that they got to cook, and then they go to bed out there. Man, to have a day full of nonsense where you literally have a set time for your coffee, that'd be so sick. So I just want to do something that made enough money to go do that and it doesn't have to be Montana. It could be Allison Park. It doesn't matter. Just make enough money from comedy, because then you get your residuals, and then you have money coming in where you could go do some nonsense like that all day long.
I would say it sounds like a typical Saturday for me. So
yeah, just do Saturday every day.
That would be nice, but that sounds more like retirement, to be honest. So
I'd retire tomorrow if I had the money.
You and me both, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think I was kind of running out of questions right there. But I guess what's a typical day as a salesman? Because when I did it, mine was door-to-door sales, and that was not fun at all, too. So it seems like to me you have to be very extroverted in order to make sure you interact with people too, because I found trying to talk with complete strangers at times, it's kind of a frightening thing, to be honest, for me. But I think that's just my introvert side talking. So I guess talk about sales. How do you try to overcome that sort of fear, or any fear whatsoever?
Well, I'm not really extroverted at all. I just think what's the worst that could happen? They could say no. That's it. They just keep going and talking and going and talking and going and talking and going and talking. And then, I usually have a good idea for them to buy. I'm not selling anything bad. So I just sell online advertising for car dealerships now. But it comes with a data tool. And that data tool is really important for them to have for their business. So I just go store to store to store. And if more people see their cars, more people will buy their cars. And then you just have to prove your ROI with the tool. And we do it every time. So I guess the main key is selling a product that works. Because when you do that, you don't have to worry about the selling. There is nothing really to sell. You're just getting the person to see what's already there. That's all.
I see.
99% of the time, somebody just has the wrong idea of what it is. Oh, so you put my cars online. Who cares? It's well, somebody that's shopping for a car that has no idea who you are they going to are they going to have you pop into their mind automatically and know to call you? Or are they going to go to an aggregate website that has every car for sale in their immediate vicinity, find the car that they like, maybe, they don't even know for sure, and then they'll come in and look at it. And you have a data tool that tells you whether or not people were looking at your cars, what cars people were looking at in your market that you don't have, so you can acquire the right cars to sell to those people and to do better on the website. So most of my day is just doing that. It's super easy.
I'll tell you what, I'm still kind of suffering from being an introvert. That's my fault, though. But what were we going to say, Lenny?
No, I was going to say, sounds productive stuff still.
Do you know Proofpoint at all? Have you ever run into them? I know robotics. You might have used them as an email protection.
I'm not gonna lie. It's not coming to mind right now. but it's mostly like for robotics. I do a little bit more on the hardware side of things, but for software, I mean, I guess you could say like Linux or uh, what is it, ROS, robotic operating systems, C, C++, kind of like those things, so basic stamp. So
I was email security gateway, so we basically scrubbed email, but we were using neural nets with machine learning to do it. So I didn't know if that might have crossed paths with coders.
yeah, I mean that's like I would say, to give you a direct answer, I have not done that with my job experience, but I guess you could say that for, let's say, apps, like 256 encryption, safety,
The
using,
gold standard, yeah, end to
yeah,
end.
like the what is it, like the firewall, using on I forget now. It's been that long. It's the Google uses it. It's Firebase. I think it's Firebase, I believe.
I have no idea because firewalls actually became so difficult to breach that a lot of threat actors didn't target it. Like it's actually hard to get through a firewall, but it's really easy to send malicious software via email and have an employee open it up. So we started out as basically like a spam filter and grew to something that actually captured malicious emails and didn't allow them to be delivered and sent them to like a quarantine inbox. But like we actually had a CMU, a set of professors through like a DARPA initiative, they came up with security awareness training. So if something does make it through, your last defense is your people. So CMU knew, I forget what kind of education it is, but there's like a study that they conducted that showed that adult attention span doesn't get past minutes. They won't retain any of it. So we were interactive modules that you couldn't skip, that each step was no longer than 30 seconds, and you had to continually interact with it, and they're over in 12 minutes.
Let's see.
That was called Wombat, if you heard of that.
That just sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah,
it was cool.
Let's say this: the app we were trying to do with drone services, like like a social media platform. It's called Friend Drone. Basically, I did the XML coding. My one friend did actually the background, like the Java scripts and all that. And basically, the database the database where basically the app and the user communicates, where all the data usage can be put, just making sure everybody's profiles and stuff were safe. You know what I mean? So that stuff I got a little bit knowing of, but like I said, it's been a while. Like I'm blanking out some of the stuff because once you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah, I forget all of that because we used to have to worry about data exfiltration from threat actors. Mm-hmm. Like if you leak somebody's PII in New York State as a company, you're required to alert that person. And so like that was high time for buying because like that's hard work to actually ensure that. So we had a software company that we bought that ensured if the data was exfiltrated, like a cloud account security broker, you would know right away. So you could at least notify the consumer that their PII is gone. Somebody has it.
Yeah.
So we had that, but I didn't have to know it because we had like, we always had sales engineers. So you did not have to be an engineer at all. Once you had a technical question, the engineer was right there to answer it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just a title like saying sales engineer, but you might have some technical experience, but you're not like.
Oh, no, these guys were, they were CSSPs, most of them.
Oh, okay. Then never mind.
Yeah.
Forget what I said. But no, that's good. That's good. Very good.
All right. Well, we almost came up on an hour right here. I guess, Lenny, did you have any other questions?
No, I mean, honestly, you pretty much the fifth question you already answered is like what encouragement you would give to those who would want to do comedy, and honestly, you already answered that. Just go ahead and give it a try. You're not going to lose anything. But No, man. I mean, we appreciate you having you on it. It's been a good conversation.
I do have one more, and it kind of relates to the pandemic. So,
Yeah.
I guess, how bad did the pandemic affect you, Elliot?
Hmm. Oh, I quit going out like entirely, and I actually found it a lot better to not go out all the time. I wrote a TV show, and that fulfills it entirely for me. Because like open mics, like imagine like when I was selling cars and going to open mics, you finish work at 8 o'clock at night, then you drive right to a bar, and you sit at the bar, and the mic starts at 9:30. You get on at 10:15 and you finish your set at 10:20, and then from 10:20 to 10:47, 10:47 you watch other people go, and then you leave at 10:50 and you drive back home, and you're home at like 11:15, 11:30. Then you go to bed and you wake up at 6 a.m. and you do it all over again. So like when the pandemic shut it down, fucking thank God, not having to like be out till 11 to do 5 minutes of comedy.
So, geez, just 5 minutes of fame. Normally, I hate to say it's 15 minutes of fame, man. I thought I would have at least done that. So, I guess you never had any brushes with COVID. I guess you've been pretty good.
Yeah, I've been good.
That's good to hear.
I have diabetes, so I stay away from it.
Oh boy.
Yeah, both diabetes.
Yeah, both.
Both of them.
Oh, geez. I honestly didn't know. I guess was this something you had?
No, I just got it recently.
Did you?
I got it like 2019. No, 18.
Okay. I was gonna say, I thought if you were keeping it quiet during the time I known you in football too, I was gonna be like, my God.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't think you could play football with diabetes in high school. Could you?
I have no idea. I mean, if you see guys, some guys come on there with cerebral palsy, and even though the other team's at least being nice to give the kid the nice little few minutes of fame just to have him run for a touchdown.
I would just be thinking like dehydration problems and going low with sugar going high. Like it'd be super hard to maintain your blood sugar playing football.
I would imagine, yeah. So I guess
I know there is one dude that was in the NCAA that had type 1 diabetes.
who was that?
But you know what? Andy Hick had diabetes and he played lacrosse. He was type 1.
Was he?
Yeah.
Oh man, I had no idea. I mean, unless you guys told me like right off the bat, I would have no idea. In fact,
Yeah.
when we were talking about Don juggling earlier, he said he was kind of going through like depression and stuff like that. And I had no idea either. So I mean, that's the thing. Unless people tell me, I mean, I have absolutely no idea if you're struggling or whether you're suffering from something. So I hope you get through it, Elliot. It's nice to have you around here a lot longer too. So
Thank you. You two both. Thank you for having me.
no worries. And Lenny, I'm all good. You all good too?
I'm fantastic. Yeah, thanks for coming on, Elliot. It's been a pleasure, and hey, maybe we'll have you in the future. So
I guess
Cool.
how can people reach you if they want to reach out to you or if they want to get any sort of things on comedy or anything like that?
Facebook. I check it all the time.
Yeah. Okay. So everyone, our guest today was Elliott Burns. He's a good friend of ours. Go support him out. Hit him up on Facebook and everything. Do you have a YouTube channel or anything like that? Or you just kind of sticking to...
No, I was trying to do one for cars. But God, YouTube's so much work. And I have a film degree, and I hate doing it.
Yeah. Actually, I got to do like 3 videos a week, and I do my music channel, so make sure you go check that out too.
That's exhausting. That's a lot of work.
It kind of is, but do it like, because I do like these little podcast episodes, not like this, but it's more just strictly like music. I do those, and then I do drum covers and stuff like that. Just doing those 2, those are fine. It's more like the one you have to post for Wednesday seems to be the hardest one, since that's me talking to a camera. So it is daunting. So, but it's totally worth it in the end. So I say, just go for it. That's what I just say.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, just back away from it. So that's my words of wisdom. All right. So Elliot, thank you again so much again for coming on. So we'll see when we post this. And everyone, we're signing off. Take care, boys.
see you guys. Bye-bye.
Like,